So Paro had an idea of what the dream was supposed to mean, but nobody could figure it out. They told him it meant that you'd have 7 daughters and the 7 daughters would die. All these strange things that didn't seem to make sense. I saw a sforno that I really enjoyed, that I thought to share with you. And I don't know to what extent you can understand this sforno, because if you didn't study Aristotle, it's kind of hard to figure that out. But it says it says like this: En poterotam, right? If you look at the verse, where is it? Verse 8 of chapter 41. Since everyone thought that there were 2 dreams, they made a mistake in the solution, in the meaning, because the first part discussed the efficient and material cause only, which were the cows plowing and the Nile River. And the second part dealt with the formal cause and the ultimate cause, which are the shibolim, the grain. What does this mean? What he's saying is we have everything, whatever is caused has 4 causes. Formal cause, ultimate cause, material cause, and efficient cause. There were 2 dreams. One dream with a cow, right, and the Nile River have 2 causes, the efficient cause and the material cause. And the dream with regard to the grain had to do with the formal cause and the ultimate cause, the purpose. Telos, teleological. No, the cow is not food. The cow is the efficient cause for the grain to grow. Because what does a cow do? What? Fertilizes. Plows. You use cows to plow the field. You don't want to sit over here? Want to join us? Please. So those 2 are the material cause, which is you need the water, and you need the cows to plow. Then you need the formal cause, the form. What's the form? It's what makes a thing what it is. So grain has the form of grain, hence it becomes grain. And it also has the ultimate cause, it is the purpose. What's the purpose? For us to have food. So he wakes up in the morning, his servant, the cupbearer, tells him, listen, when we were in prison, there was a slave boy, a Hebrew, that would interpret dreams, and however he interpreted the dream, that's exactly what happened. That is, I was restored to my original position, and my colleague was killed. So what does Pharaoh say? Ivri says, he didn't even speak our language. That's what Rashi says. He doesn't, afilu leshonenu eno makir. He doesn't speak Egyptian. And he says, nah, because he's talking about, he's a silly little kid. He's not worthy of, get pulling out of jail for this. And he doesn't even speak Egyptian. And he's a slave. Right? And the Pharaoh says, bring him. Just imagine the following situation. Yosef. Okay? Erev Rosh Hashanah. This happened. On Rosh Hashanah, he was let out of prison. 12 years. Erev Rosh Hashanah, he goes to bed. Says Kriyat Shema al Amitah. Maybe cries a little bit, davening to Hashem, please get me out of here. He was doing this for how many nights? For 12 years. Every night. Put his head on the pillow, fell asleep somehow, hoping that he would be released. And in the morning this happens. And he's out of jail. He's out of jail in literally a heartbeat. Boom. Just imagine. 12 years. Every night he's praying to Hashem. Get me out of here. Every morning he wakes up. Moedeh ani lefanecha. Davens to Hashem. And what happens? Still in prison. But today is the day when Hashem is going to redeem a person. Yeshuat Hashem ke'eref ayin. It comes like a, when a person squints his eye, like that fast. Boom. So they run him out of the prison. They're literally running him out. Run, 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 run. They shower him. They give him a shave. They give him a haircut. Change his clothes. And all of a sudden, he stands before Pharaoh, the most powerful king in the world at the time. Just imagine this. Where was he an hour ago? Just imagine what sort of breakfast he was expecting. Do you imagine how bad prison is today? And imagine how bad prison was 3,500 years ago? More, 3,800 years ago. How bad it must have been. 12 years he's in prison. First, a crime that he didn't commit. And then in 1 second, boom, he's out. Just imagine when he's they're telling him, hurry up, shower, hurry up, get your hair done. Put these clothes on. Put some aftershave. Like, you have to smell nice, you can't go to the king with. Oh. So he stands before Paro. Just imagine the scene. Which is really a message for all of us. Whatever we're dealing with, whatever the difficulties that we're dealing with, it could be that we're going to deal with them for decades, 10 years. But 1 second, everything changes for the good. No, that's it, boom. It's over. All the problems are over. Don't have to worry about anything. Just 1 second. Not only Mashiach, but in our lives, people are dealing with all sorts of issues, and what am I going to do? The solution, the fix, the redemption can happen like that. Paro says to Yosef, I dreamt a dream and nobody could solve it. I heard that you could solve the dream for me. And what does he say? It's not me. Would you say that to the king? I don't want to be thrown back. This is your one chance. If you make a mistake now, forget it. There's no way getting out. So he tells Joseph the dream. We're not going to get into the dream again and whether it's the same exact thing, but you can play along and read it very carefully and see that what's the difference between the first report that the Torah tells us to the second time that Pharaoh tells us. Are there any differences? There are. And there's going to be a third time that Yosef is relating the dream. There is a tradition that there was 7 times 3 is what? 21. So there was 42 years of famine in Egypt. Because his dream was told, the story was repeated 3 times. 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7. And it didn't happen at the time of Yosef. It happened sometime much, much later. So he tells him and says, Yosef says, you have one dream. This is verse 25. And this is what God is planning to tell Pharaoh. And he tells them an interpretation of the dream. That what? That there's going to be 7 years of plenty, followed with 7 years of famine. This had nothing to do with why Yosef was brought before Pharaoh. Read it to yourselves and tell me what you think. What does he do? He gives them advice. Did anybody ask him for the advice? Is there like a, wanted ad? Right? Do you see Gabriel? Yosef, he tells him what the dreams, and then he tells him, here's the solution. There's a story that Rabbi Yankele Galinsky tells. At the time when Rabbi Akiva Eger was the rabbi in a certain district, there was the guy that used to blow the shofar was a really bad guy. Caused a lot of trouble. He would complain to the non-Jewish authorities about the Jewish community. And Rabbi Akiva Eger decided to remove him from his post. And he removed him, and he's not going to blow the shofar. So immediately the guy went to the governor and complained that the rabbi is going after him and is hurting him and embarrassing him in public. And the reason he's doing it is because he's being a good citizen and helping the governor with maintaining good relations with the Jews. So the governor calls Rabbi Akiva Eger in and says to him, can you please explain to me what have you done? And he says to him, well, he used to blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. And the most important day in the Jewish year is Yom Kippur. And in Yom Kippur, the highlight of the day is the Ne'ilah prayer, the last prayer of the end of Yom Kippur. And then we blow the shofar. And that's the most important time of the year, before the heavens close. I promoted the guy. Instead of having him blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, I gave him to blow the shofar on Yom Kippur. So the governor was like, okay, I guess it's a good answer. So he calls in the former guy and gives him, what is this? You embarrassed me in front of the rabbi. And he says, no, you don't understand. The rabbi tricked you. He says, what do you mean? He says, because in Yom Kippur we blow 100 times. Now we're only blowing once. He says, what? He says, yeah, and over there in Rosh Hashanah, it's the Araisa. Here is the Rabbanon. He says, listen, I don't care. Do you have the shofar in your hand? He says, yes. Then blow as much as you want. That's the idea. Yosef is in front of Pharaoh. He has an opportunity to speak. He is using the opportunity to blow as hard as he can. The opportunity was that he was brought there to interpret the dreams, but he understands what the dreams mean and what is the plan of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So he tells him, listen, the way that you're going to save all of your people, and Yosef knows this, and all the rest of the world, because there's going to be a famine throughout the Middle East, is if you do what I'm telling you. And this is the only way that you're going to be able to save everybody. And this has to do with you. When you have an opportunity to speak your mind, you get into a job interview, you get into a shidduch, you got the shofar, blow the shofar. Do it. Give it your all. Don't just be, no, you have an opportunity, Jonah. You got the mic. So here we have, in verse 37, Vayitav hadavar b'nei Paro u'b'nei chol avadav. They heard this, and this was agreeable to them. They liked it. Like, you know what? This kid's got something. How old is he now? How old is this kid? 29. Remember? Came 17, 12 years in prison. So he's in prison. Got out. First day. And what happens? ויאמר פרעה אל יוסף אחרי הודיע אלוקים אותך את כל זאת אין נבון וחכם כמוך. Since God told you all of this, no one is on your level. No one. And he says, you are going to be in charge. You're going to run the country. And you are going to put in place this plan to save Egypt. Remember, where was Yosef 12 hours before this? 5 hours before this. Imagine, what is he eating for lunch? What was he eating for lunch that day? Right? What did he eat for breakfast? Breakfast, he got the mystery porridge. Right? No. But lunch, he's like, they're bringing a buffet for him. He's looking at this. 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago, I never thought I would be out of prison. Look at how Hashem works. That in one blink of an eye, a life is turned around completely. And lahavdil, I don't know if you saw yesterday the video, right, of the guard that got stabbed in the central bus station. In a blink of an eye. In a blink of an eye. Boom. Got stabbed in the heart.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, very, very.
Blink of an eye. You can count it. 1, 2, Pharaoh says to Joseph, you're in charge. Takes his ring off his finger, signet ring, and gives it to Yosef, dresses him in royal garb, puts gold around his neck. Gold around his neck! What did he have around his neck? In prison, an hour before. How long do you think this whole conversation took place? How long? Probably took Yosef longer to shower, shave, and get dressed than this whole thing. And he's in charge of Egypt. Just imagine. Right? They had to scrub 12 years of grub off of him. Veda, no. Shani choshev inyan b'chalom paro. That the matter with regard to the dream of Pharaoh. Shehu olech b'sheva al sheva. That is 7 times 7. ידוע כי פרעה ועמו רשעים מאמינים הקדמות, כופרים בידיעה ובהשגחה ובחידוש. That they were Rashaim because they believed the universe was never created, that the universe always existed. Kofrim beyediah, they deny that God has any knowledge of what's happening down here. Ubashgacha, and that God actually has control of what happens to people's lives. And bechidush, that he renews the creation. And they said everything that's happening is all pure accidental and follows astrological signs. Astrological signs. The Rabbeinu Bachya, he's from the 13th century. The Rabbeinu Bachya says that they believe that everything is according to nature. And the whole point of the dream was to teach that that from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah there's a gzera. That the Kadosh Baruch Hu, this is why it happened on Rosh Hashanah. How do we know it happened on Rosh Hashanah? Do you know? Vayachlef simlotav, right? Where is that verse? So it says, Vayachlef simlotav, right? That is in Gematria, Rosh Hashanah. So that's what Rabbeinu Bachya is telling us. That they thought that everything is, accidental. And he says, no, there's a plan and there's a way that the Kadosh Baruch Hu is who he gives famine and he gives plenty. And he controls everything. And he can be in charge. He is in charge of the rivers and of nature and everything else. And he says, and this is Sachar Va'onesh. And his whole point was to tell Pharaoh. Pharaoh thought that he was in control of the Nile River. That was his power. He's control of the river. Like Aquaman, right? He was in charge of all the animals in the water, so he was in charge of the Nile River. He could bring the Nile to flood, and he could get the Nile to return back, because that's how it was the agricultural season in Egypt. And here comes Yosef and says, no, you're not in charge. You don't have control. Shaya Ose Atzmo Eloka would make himself into a deity, Vaya Omer, Ki hanilus, the Nile, hanahar shelo, is my river. Like it says in Yechezkel, Li Yeori, this river belongs to me, and I made it. Comes the dream, and Yosef tells him, you didn't make anything. Kadosh Baruch Hu is the one that's in charge. You made nothing. This whole kingdom that you built, you think it's yours, you think you're in charge, sorry. You're going to have 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. And there's going to be such a famine that if you don't plan for it, this whole kingdom is going to be destroyed. The whole point is to bring Jacob and his sons to Egypt. This whole thing. The reason there's going to be a famine is so that there's not going to be any food in Canaan. And that Jacob is going to have to come down to eat. This whole thing is about you. And the reason that Bnei Israel went into Egypt so you can get the Torah. And the reason we got the Torah is so that you can sit here and learn Torah and you can do the tikkun to your neshama to help bring Geula, redemption.
Sounds good.
Everything is about this. I know. This is it. All the steps, we talked about this yesterday. All the steps this is what Rabbeinu Bach is talking about. There is Ashgacha Pratis. God is paying attention to what's happening, and He is moving the chess pieces. You make with your bechira one choice, and another person makes another choice. All of these things are moving the universe, either closer to what Hashem wants it to go, or farther. If it moves him farther, He has a way to reset the system. We don't want Him to reset the system, right? Because the flood was a reset of the system. And then brought everybody back. Giving the Torah is a reset of the system. Right? Sometimes the human beings reset the system themselves. The golden calf, they undid the system. But they did tshuva, reset the system, and now Hashem says, okay, let's keep going. That's the same thing with our lives. So Joseph gets out of prison after 12 years. Just imagine, whenever you are dealing with difficulties in your life, just think of Joseph. 12 years. 12 years every night. Saying Kriyat Shema, probably crying on his pillow, praying to Hashem, get me out of here, get me out of here. And another day, another month, another Rosh Hashanah, and nothing. And then one day, wakes up in the morning, Modeh ani lefanecha, it's Rosh Hashanah, he says, maybe, Hashem, what about today? Boom! And he's eating lunch with Pharaoh. Just imagine how life can turn around. That's why we have to work on our emunah and bitachon with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Because however things are difficult, they can get better in just a matter of seconds. Just a matter of seconds.